Hi, Sandra here from Create in Spain. Do you ever have days when, for a start, you haven't got much inspiration, and if you got the inspiration, you can't think of how to do it, or maybe you just don't actually know what you want to do at all? On those days, I think it's fun to do backgrounds, because patterned backgrounds always come in useful no matter what time of year it is. There's always something you can do with a patterned background. Now I've got one here which I've done, which I think is rather pretty, rather summery. You could add some shimmer to this if you wanted to. You could add some lines in silver or gold going around little accents if you wanted to, but I like it just as it is. A very soft, nice background. Now, how is it created? Now this is the fun bit, because you literally don't have to do any thinking about this. It's pretty much random. Now it works really nicely if you have a solid stamp, but at the moment I'm going to be using a linear flower stamp. And I've got a piece of paper here, and I'm just going to do some flowers stamped with a Versamark. Okay. I have no idea what this is going to look like, so that is part of the fun. This is a case of let's have a go and see. Now, what I've got is a set of pastel chalks. Now, for those of you not familiar with these, they are the grown-up version of chalks, basically. But they're highly pigmented and they're great fun to use for different things. And I've had a previous video, I think, on using some of these for different things. But I know there is a fashion for powder pigments, but you don't actually need them. If you've got something like this, and this was €3.50 I think for the entire set in Lidl when I bought it. So you just take a craft knife and just do a bit of scraping. And you can mix colours. A splash of this and a splash of that. And what else am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to have some rosy pink, I think, too. And a pale pink. And I think I'm going to have some jade in that, just for the fun of it. Why not? Right, now you're probably thinking, what a mess. And it might be. We don't know. We might even need some more pigments. So, let me think, what colour do I fancy putting in with that? Did I go for a pale lilac? I'm not sure. Can't remember if I did. Let's do a bit more. I apologise for the scraping noises. There we go. Now the next thing is you take a big brush. Don't ponce around with one of these little things. Take a big one. This is actually a blusher type brush, and then we can watch the magic appear. Like so. So it's very much like having a load of the powder pigments that you can buy in little jars, or a load of eyeshadows, whatever. You can drop off the rest. I've got a glasswork surface, so I can clean that easily. And you can brush it again to get rid of any excess. If you really want to seal it, give it a dose of hairspray. And there we have quite a nice background paper. As you can see, it's a different effect to this one, which is done with solid stamps. Now this one I did with a maple leaf and with what I think is actually a poinsettia stamp, like so. Now the good thing with this, if you happen to make your own stamps, and you happen to get some failures, and believe me, I've made a lot of stamps and I've had a lot of failures. And although I now know how to make them, and most of my stamps turn out fine, occasionally I will still get one where there's a little dip in it, or I used to. I've now got plastic frames that I put in between my glass, but I used to get them sometimes where they had a little dip in, so you'd have a bit missing. So for example, there's a bit missing on this flower, there was a bit missing on the leaf, but hey ho, who cares? It makes a nice background. So, you know, if you do make a few mistakes in your stamp making, don't necessarily throw them out. The other thing you can do, of course, if you do have a stamp that isn't working very well, is to make sure you put a piece of craft foam underneath it before you stamp. And then if there is any chance of the full stamp coming out, it will do it. But I thought you'd like to see this other use for these things here. Now, I'm obviously using a craft knife. I'm an adult, I can use one. If you want to do this with children, I suggest using something not quite as sharp as that. Maybe a palette knife. Whoops, just grabbing one here. Maybe a palette knife like this, which isn't particularly sharp. You can probably even use a plastic one. Let me just test that. Let me just test it for you, just to see if it works. Let's see. Okay, choose a bright colour. So it's going to show up. Just grab a scrap of paper here. I don't waste decent paper, do I? Let's see. No, plastic one's not going to work. But that will. Okay, so a metal one. So even if it was a blunt dinner knife or something like that, you could scrape them. They're going to last you for a very, very long time. The other thing you can do, if you've got watercolour paper, I wouldn't suggest doing it with normal paper, but with watercolour paper you can spray the paper with water and then you can scrape these colours on and they will spread a little bit. I said, rather like the fashionable powder pigments that you get these days, designed especially to do that. So what do you do if you don't happen to have a Versamark pad, or if you're doing this with children and you don't want them to mess up your Versamark pad? Okay, simple solution. I've got a piece of, what can I call it? It's a kitchen cleaning cloth. It's one of these funny fibreless things that is stiff when it's dry and soft when it's wet. The first thing you want to do is to make it damp with some water. Not make it soaking wet, but make it so that it is soft and malleable, because that's pretty much what you want. And then get some glycerin and put some glycerin on it like so. You can work that in if you wish. Put a bit more glycerin on there. Okay, because you know, even if you've got to buy a bottle of glycerin, this will be cheaper than having your Versamark pads wrecked. And then you can put the stamps into that and then do your stamping. Okay, that is the easy way around it if you don't have any Versamark pad to use, or maybe you're doing this with quite a few children or a class or something and you don't have enough pads for everyone. You don't want them fighting over the things, do you? So that's the way around it. So I've got another design on here, and I'm just going to see what this ends up like. It's always fascinating to see the colours that you get at the end of the process. Yellow. I like to call this magic paper because you just don't know what you're going to get at the end of the day. Oh wow! Oh, I like this one. Oh, what fun. If you want to, of course, there's absolutely nothing to stop you going in with another layer of stamping afterwards. So I could, for example, fill some more flowers in here. Like that. And, oh, what can I do? I think I might do some peachy ones. Sorry about that, I think my husband's making the fire up downstairs. There we go, a few more bits on there. Now to finish it off, go over it with a lint-free cloth and rub off any excess powder. But there we go, there's another one. Now if you've got any of the loose pigment powders that are shimmery, of course you can use those for accents if you wish. As I said, you can draw around them with coloured metallic pens and things like that to add a touch of shimmer, or you can leave them as they are. And of course there is nothing to stop you from going in again with some more Versamark and adding some embossing powder, shimmery or otherwise. Okay, thanks for watching, take care now. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you haven't. Bye bye.